Welcome to the Sausage Bowl Podcast, the weekly podcast of the Sausage Bowl Fantasy Football League with your hosts, Danny and Cosmo.
All right, I can't do the hype voice for the entire podcast. That was gonna kill me, dude. Hopefully no one freaks out at that. Anyway, welcome to week. I don't even know what is it. Episode something. Welcome to the next episode of the Sausage Bowl Podcast. Week between week 3, week 4 of the NFL. Okay, you know what I'm saying. Okay, Cosmo, how you doing?
I was good until I just lost my my eardrums busted. But otherwise, I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, I don't know where that scream came from. But anyway, this week, guys, we've got a special guest for you. That's right. Team Anatsa's in the house. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Well, I mean, I've been better. I'm pretty sure I'm bleeding from my ears.
Yeah,
So-
I'm
You and
sure
me both.
everyone else is, yeah. Yeah, I decided halfway through that scream that I'm going to save the hype stuff for the bold predictions and that I'm not going to do it for the whole podcast.
it just came so expected because he had been talking so quietly before. We
Yeah.
went silent. I just came back yelling.
Yeah, unfortunately, guys, we're having some technical difficulties because Windows decided to force an update on my computer. It caused the soundboard thing to not work correctly. So Cosmo and Taylor cannot hear the soundboard. So I told them, don't say anything until I say something, and that means the sound is done. And then they're just sitting there and it's all quiet, and I'm waiting for the sound to go off, and then I just Taylor.
Hyena.
Yeah, Taylor
Hyena
screamed. I don't know where it came from. I apologize. I hope you're still listening. But okay, welcome back, guys. That's what I'm saying. All right, we're gonna get right into it. Let's get, as we always do, into the news with Anchorman Cosmo.
It's time for the weekly news brought to you by Anchorman Cosmo.
Go ahead,
I'm
Cosmo.
assuming. Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right here for the news. Before we get into some of the injuries, because I think there's one in particular that we want to take some time on. Let's get into some of the non-injury news first, and let's get this out of the way because I'm sick and tired of talking about this guy. Antonio Brown has been cut from the Patriots. I know that probably seems like 5 years ago when it's happened because a number of different things with this bozo has happened, but he has been cut from the Patriots. He is no longer at this moment in the NFL, and hopefully for the next, I don't know, rest of the season, we don't have to talk about him. Taylor, how does it feel to see your boy Antonio Brown here fall from grace so fast?
Well, I mean, I've moved on to bigger and better.
Wait,
I
is Antonio
no,
your crazy ex-girlfriend?
Yeah, that's exactly what that's my crazy ex-girlfriend. Who I have attachment to.
Did he do some things to you, Taylor, that you want to talk about on the podcast?
I mean, he used to treat me so well, but then it was just one time too many of crazy antics, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I just the real reason why I drafted Saquon last year was it's because Antonio hit me. But no, seriously, this guy's a clown. This guy's a clown, and it's crazy to think, I've had him. Y'all guys know I had him for like maybe 2 or 3 years before last year, and while he was pretty gaudy, he never acted like this. So really, my biggest question, and maybe y'all guys can inquire, is what happened? Because it really feels like just out of the blue, he just started.
I think it is. You know what I think it is? Antonio didn't start going crazy until Taylor stopped, loving him last year. When Taylor found a new love, that's when all this stuff started. Isn't that true? Like kind of last year at the beginning of the year, like the Steelers were having trouble with him and he was like doing some on the sideline antics and like more than usual and like complaining about Big Ben in the media. And then all this, I think Taylor, when you cut him from your heart, that's when he went off the edge.
I mean, my love is just so strong. I understand. I mean, if I stopped loving myself, I'd probably go crazy. So,
My theory on why he's down spiraling so fast is I don't think he could take the shame of being the first one eliminated from the Masked Singer. I think that was
Oh, dude, that's what it was. He got
Dude, that's
publicly
true.
humiliated. He got publicly humiliated from
Like
that.
he couldn't beat one person on that show, and I
No.
think ever since then he's just
he's just been losing it.
downward. Yeah.
That's what it's a combination of Taylor cutting him from his heart and losing first on The Masked Singer. I still can't believe he was on that show. It was like the week, well, I mean, it wasn't recorded during this week, but the week where he like disappeared from the Steelers and they couldn't find him or whatever, that's when that episode aired. People were making jokes. All right, anyway, let's move on to the next one. This guy's irrelevant. I don't know if he's even going to play again.
Yeah, let's quit talking
he's in
about him.
Central. He enrolled to college. Who cares? We're done with this bum. Right, Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, I've been moved on, so I'm good. I'm on to my baby, and my baby hurt.
All right, hold on. All right, Cosmo, keep going. Anchorman Cosmo.
In some better news, at least for my fellow co-host Danny, it appears the Melvin Gordon saga has ended. Melvin Gordon, reported by multiple outlets, has made it clear that he will be reporting to the Chargers on Thursday. He is not going to be playing this coming week for Week 4, but should be playing starting Week 5. Danny, how does it feel to finally be out of this situation and finally have your player out of this holdout?
I'm not gonna, get my hopes up because anything can happen. Maybe they're like, you know what, we're salty you sat out. We're not even gonna play you. Something crazy like that might happen. So I'm gonna keep my expectations low. But it is nice. It is nice to finally have some sort of ray of fantasy sunshine on me, on my face. I'm sitting out on the porch. It's been a rainy day. I'm stuck on this porch. I'm like, man, I gotta sit on this porch on a rainy day. And all of a sudden, this sunlight starts to come through. And it's like the sunlight is coming down right on my nipple, like it's tickling my nipple a little bit, like it's surrounding my nipple right there. I'm pointing at my nipple right now, in case you're wondering. And it's it might grow a little bit, start to cover like the pec, maybe move on the whole body, I don't know, but right now I'm just enjoying this little sunlight and warmth on my nipple. Thank you, Melvin.
Ooh, man, that's pretty graphic there, Danny. I mean, highly inappropriate for this podcast.
And
but...
no, Akshay, I'm not trading it to you for your defense.
Ooh, shots fired. Can we get a horn for that?
Oh, sorry. All right, I just hit the horn in case you're wondering.
Yeah, I mean, I can make my own sound effects for it.
I think it's actually kind of funny to go this whole podcast with me hitting a sound drop and then going, okay, I hit the sound drop, guys.
Yeah, sorry if we're on a bit of a delay here. But I think the biggest question now that Melvin Gordon is back and he should be playing starting next week is what the split is going to look between him and Austin Ekeler, because Austin Ekeler has been balling out the first 3 weeks of this season while he's here. So how do you guys think that – do you think Melvin Gordon is going to go back to being the workhorse back he was last year? Or do you think it might be a more 50-50 split now that Ekeler has proven himself to be very well and, has shown a little bit more loyalty to the team? What do you think is going to shake out here in the Charger land?
I would say – I think we as fantasy people tend to always overthink these things. I think they're just going to go 100% back to how it was the last 3 years, where Gordon's getting 80% of the work, and then Ekeler comes in as like a passing down back or whatever. But it might take a couple games to transition to that. But I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, especially if Gordon doesn't sign a contract and basically it's understood that he's going to work, finish this season out, go free agent, go elsewhere. They might just try to get their work out of him, and so I think they're going to use him a lot. But I don't know. I think it might take a couple weeks, transition, but I think it will eventually get back to where Gordon was, how he was last year.
Yeah. No, you go ahead, Taylor.
I agree for the most part. I think that while in terms of fairness, in terms of how I think he's proven himself, I think that Ekeler deserves to just as much playing time as Gordon. He definitely he was there for the team. He has been performing considerably well. But honestly, you do have such a powerhouse running back just chilling there. You know it works. It's still early in the season. Yeah, I think they're gonna, like you said, Danny, they're probably gonna maybe the first game back, week 5, they might run like a 60-40, maybe 50-50 split. And then, we're just gonna see that wane down from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Melvin Gordon will go back to being the workhorse back, but I think because of a lot of the injuries to Hunter Henry and Travis Benjamin and Mike Williams has been banged up, and Antonio Gates is not there anymore. I could see Eckler being used more as like a receiver, and getting a lot more like receiving work alongside Melvin Gordon because they just don't have a lot of weapons. So I don't really think Eckler is going to become. I don't think he's going to go back to what he was last year. I think he'll be better. But I still think Melvin Gordon will be the lead back here. But it should be very, very interesting to see how that shakes out. Well, let's go ahead and let's move on into some of the injury news of the week. And let's do some quick hits right here. First, Vance McDonald has injured his shoulder and looks to be out for a while. Pittsburgh just made a trade for a tight end from Seattle, Nick Vannett, so that does not bode well for Vance McDonald's quick return.
You want to know what's funny? So they come out and they're like, oh yeah, Vance McDonald's injury isn't extremely serious. He should be back pretty soon. And then they go and trade a pick for a tight end on another team. So
yeah,
I think they're lying there.
They're saying one thing and doing another. So not looking good for Vance McDonald. Probably going to be out for a while. Second injury here, T.Y. Hilton has re-aggravated the quad injury that was keeping him questionable last week. He probably is not going to play this week, but that is the one situation to monitor if you have T.Y. Hilton. And then finally, Julian Edelman, who injured his chest and had to leave the game, should be good to go for this coming week, but another situation to monitor. But let's get to the most important injury item of the news, and the reason we wanted Taylor here tonight. Last week with the Giants game against Tampa Bay, some unfortunate situation happened, and Saquon Barkley will be out for the foreseeable future with a high ankle sprain. I'm gonna give the mic to Taylor and just let you talk this out, man.
I mean, just so everybody knows, I was telling Danny Cosmo about this. I was with the company of somebody at the time that we watched the game together, and Saquon got injured, and she straight up told me that she's never seen that look on my face in her entire existence of knowing me. And I went silent for 20 minutes. I didn't say anything. I didn't cheer, even when Mike Evans was going off because they were playing in the same game. I don't think there's ever been a pain that's felt like this. I think this is honestly the closest I've been to crying in at least the last decade. It was. It's not even playing a good team. It's playing the goddamn Bucks. Come on, like, oh my God! It's and the scary part is, you're like, you see him on his hands and knees, and like, I can get back up. And as soon as they did the flash, to where he can't even walk to the locker room by himself, and when the announcer's just going like, "Oh, this doesn't look good. Oh, I hope Saquon comes back," and he sits out. Dog, this gentleman is probably the most painful fantasy experience. Let me go 2-10 again. I can live with that. Let me go 0-12, 0 whatever, and I can live with that. But I can't. I can't imagine a fantasy season without Saquon Barkley. I literally have a tribute video coming out, and I've spent so long, and it's so sad. I almost cried during it. I just, it's not all bad, but it's Cosmo, don't make me talk about this anymore. I don't.
Dude, man, this journey, dude, has been one for the books, man. Last year, you didn't get Antonio Brown. You're devastated. You think the world is over. You just pick up this guy named Saquon Barkley because we're all telling you to pick him up, and you don't even know anything about this guy. He goes on to have one of the best running back fantasy seasons for a rookie, and you fall in love with him. You go into 72 hours of prayer. You get the number 1 overall pick the next year. You pick up Saquon, and oh man, this is devastating. This is truly
And-
devastating.
Look, I'll tell y'all guys right now. You better stop with your goddamn trade offers. You better stop with whatever you're thinking. In this relationship, there are highs and there are lows. And I gotta be there for my baby when he's on his lows. Cause we gonna be high again. And when we high, we gonna be stronger than ever. So fuck off of here. If you think you can capitalize on this, let me tell you right now. You could give me all of your first round draft picks, your starters, anything, and he could be out for 8 weeks. I might not even get to play him till damn near playoffs, and I'll turn you down. He's staying with me. It took me all of my heart and soul not to leave him in that starting spot and beat all y'all asses with just a zero. Just automatic zero. Get it out of your head. This is just a stepping stone for our future. This year, it's okay. My baby's alive. He'll be back. He'll be back and better than ever.
Well,
I have no words.
glad we got that off your chest. Hope you feel better. Yeah, sorry about that. All right, Cosmo, take it away.
All right, yeah. Well, that ends that. Yeah, sorry. Condolences to you, Taylor. I know this is a tough time in your life, and we're all thinking about you. And just hold in there, buddy. Just hold in there.
Yeah, you
No,
got
they
this.
said
You
it
know what?
all.
He's so athletic, dude. He's gonna rapid heal. He'll be back in like 4 weeks. Promise.
I mean, realistically, he's had a high ankle sprain before, and so I'm hoping it's not on the same leg because usually that's tougher to heal. But last time he came back in the minimum amount of time, and I do think that he's just he's just with the way that the Giants are right now, and the way that his mentality is, how much of a leader that type of person is. He's gonna push for the quickest time back. 4 weeks definitely sucks for me. It's been a little softened. 4 weeks definitely sucks for me. But I think we'll get through this and we'll be all right. And honestly, you know what? It pushed me to do some things that I normally probably wouldn't, and so it's okay.
Yeah, dude, I think you recovered well. We'll get into that later in the podcast. But all right, thank you, Anchorman Cosmo, for always keeping us up to date, man. That's right, no pay raise still coming to you. Okay, let's get into the top 5 players. Oh my God, this is a family-friendly podcast, dude. This is a family-friendly podcast. Calm down. Calm down. The only one that's not rated for children is when Uncle Nahum comes around. But anyway, all right, let's get into the top 5 players of the week.
Top 5 players of the week.
All right, starting with our quarterbacks here, we got a little bit of new names here. Number 1, Russell Wilson, 41.3 points for Aaron. Yeah, it was a crazy week. The Saints got out to an early lead that I don't think people expected, and Russell Wilson had to throw it all over the place. And man, it resulted in some nice points. You know, they've been running this offense where it's just run, and Russell throws like 20 times a game. But this is what he can do when he needs to pass. And so it was nice to see them switch to more of a passing offense when they needed to. Unfortunately, it did not result in the win, so we'll see what happens going on. Number 2, that's right, Daniel Dimes Jones, Danny Dimes Jones. Some people calling him Manuel Jones. Oh, man, that dude is a beast. 34.2 points on the waiver wire. He comes in here replacing Eli Manning and looks like the next great quarterback, dude. He was throwing it all over the place. He's running in. I mean, I didn't even know this guy could run, and this dude's running all over the place. I think the defense didn't know he could run because they were not even looking his way, and all of a sudden he's down the field for a touchdown. And apparently there's rumors that on their last touchdown to take the lead in the game, he got into the huddle and he like gets into the huddle and all of a sudden he just like yells at all his guys in the huddle and he's like, let's effing score. And then he just like broke the huddle and they were all like, what the heck? And then he runs it in for a touchdown and they like were all so hyped. So I mean, I know it took some missed field goals on the Tampa Bay part, but man, that was crazy. All right, number 3, no surprise, Patrick Mahomes, 27.9 points for Cameron. Number 4, Jameis Winston, 26.5 points on the waiver wire. Nobody wants that crab stealer. Number 5, Deshaun Watson, 25.8 points for Nahum. Nice to see a little bounce back game for him. Cosmo, hit us with those running backs.
Well, here to soften the blow a little bit for Taylor, coming in at number 1 is Mr. Mark Ingram himself with 33.5 points for Taylor, who has been a really good pickup from Taylor in the 4th round. You know, we were kind of criticizing you for taking him over Chris Carson and Josh Jacobs, but you're looking like the smart one in that pick. So Mark Ingram finishing at number 1 this week. Number 2, no surprise here. Doesn't need Drew Brees at all. Alvin Kamara finishes at number 2 with 32.6 points for Danny. Number 3, a little bit of surprise here. Phil Lindsay scoring 27 points for Akshay on his bench. We will get to that later for sure. Number 4, CMC, Christian McCaffrey, 26.3 points for Rahi. Once again, finding himself in the top 5. And then finally, my boy Dalvin Cook, finishing once again in the top 5 with 22.3 points for myself.
Yeah, he's been in the Taylor, top 5 each week, right?
Yeah, he has. And I'm not sure, but I think he might be the top running back of the season. But he has been extra consistent this year. I'm very happy with what he's doing. Well, Taylor, how about you hit us with these wide receivers, the top 5 of the week?
I'd be more than happy to. Number 1, chilling with my squad, has to be Mr. Mike Evans himself with 41.0 points. I gave him a phone call at halftime. I said, thank you so much for making up for Saquon. I appreciate the apology points. And so he came through. You know what it do. Number 2, we got Keenan Allen with 37.1 points on Mr. Nahum's team. We got number 3 with Taylor Gabriel, 29.2 points on the waiver wire. Kind of hurts, but who the hell is going to have this guy on the team?
Yeah, his name is Taylor.
I wouldn't draft him because he has a bitch-made name. Number 4 is Cooper Kupp. 27.7 points on Rahi's team. That's a great turnout, especially coming off of last week. Number 5 is Tyler Lockett, 26.9 points for Aaron's team. Not really surprising considering how much Russell Wilson went off himself, and so that was a great turnaround. And finishing off with the tight ends, sending it back to you, Danny.
Okay, I'm back with the tight ends, but because I got a tight end, so I better read the tight ends. You know what I'm saying? All right, Greg Olsen.
He has lost his mind.
Number 1, Greg Olsen, 22.5 points for Rahi. Nice pickup. Old man Olsen still cranking it out on the field. Kyle Allen coming for Cam Newton's job there. Number 2, Austin Hooper, 21.6 points for Taylor. Not anymore on his team. We'll get to that. Number 3, Jordan Atkins, 20.8 points on the waiver wire. I think he's for the Houston Texans. I'm pretty sure this is the first game Deshaun Watson's ever thrown to him, so that was kind of interesting. Number 4, Darren Waller, 20.6 points for Cameron. Very consistent, very solid, getting more involved with that offense. And number 5, Evan Ingram, 20.3 points, looking like a key piece to that New York Giants offense and looking even better with Danny Dimes. Well, there you have it. Those are your top 5 players of the week. Like we say, you want to win, get your players in the top 5. If you see these guys on the list, go trade for them. Go pay money under the table for these players to get the person to trade them to you. Trust me, it's worth it. It's what I do. Okay, moving on. That's right. Moving into the next thing here, we got the King and Stanky Sausage of the week. So let's get right into it.
All hail the King Sausage of the week.
Okay, our King Sausage of the week this week is has he been in this position before, Cosmo?
Hell no.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna take that to the bank, and I'm not gonna fact check it.
I feel like he did have some King
I
sausages.
I think he had one last year.
With those weeks where he beat you barely with Patrick Mahomes, I kind of feel like he won it, but we need to turn on that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah,
I'm pulling up the facts right now. Let's see. Cameron, or no, not Cameron. Aaron. Yeah. He was King Sausage week 2. All right. He's not new to this. Even though we want him to be. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Anyway, our King Sausage of the week, we already spoiled it, is Aaron. That's right. Public Enemy #1, just coming in last week. Where's my stuff? Where's my stuff here? I had it pulled up. I'm a little off kilter right now. Week 3, he comes in this week and slams down a cold 148.14. Oh, his team went off. That's right. Got him his first win. We'll get to that later. King Sausage of the week is Aaron. Do you guys have anything to say on this?
That was quite a rise from the bottom. I think he desperately needed this. I think he was drawing dead coming into this week, and I think he definitely put himself back into contention with this week. So good job, Aaron.
I mean, you could tell earlier in the week, Aaron had a lot of fire in him. And so, no, Aaron, I think last time I was on, I think I gave you a hard time too. But, it's great to see another bottom feeder at the top of the ladder. Eating at scratch, you finally have a place at the table. Let's hope that it stays like this. I'm wishing you the best, my dog.
Yeah, good bounce back game. Congrats on the King Sausage. The award is in the mail, and unfortunately, now we have to get to
Stanky Sausage of the Week.
Cosmo, take it away. This pains me, dude. I can't. Cosmo, take it away, man.
Well, last week we had a first, winning my first King Sausage here, and now this week we have another first for the podcast with the Stinky Sausage for this week for the first time is none other than Mr. Danny Spalding.
Yeah, dude, I think I scored the lowest on the season so far out of everyone. I came in with the crisp 73.4 points last week.
That's barely passing.
Yeah, I barely passed last week. I almost passed away, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so Stanky Sausage of this week. Yeah, it doesn't feel too good. My team, 2 points from Mark Andrews, 2 points from Emmanuel Sanders. Robert Woods is lost in the woods. I don't know where this dude is. Aaron Rodgers doing his usual thing of disappointing. Kamara was pretty much just, my team last week was like the Dallas Mavericks, where it was like, as you go along, it's just like suck. And then all of a sudden this one season, boom, championship. And like, that was Alvin Kamara. So it was like, suck. Boom, 32 points from Alvin Kamara, back down, suck. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, no, it doesn't feel too good being the Stinky Sausage, my first one ever. But, there's it feels good to have it on my belt, just to add another award to my belt. My belt's pretty lit up right now, you know what I'm saying? So
you at the bottom of the list, dog. And you got roasted by Aaron this week. Nigga, that's a double loss. I watched that happen. I was like, I've never seen somebody with so many outs and injured on his bench. That's terrible. How do you score 73 points? I don't even think I scored that much last season.
Dude, I didn't even have to debate who to put in my starting lineup this week because everyone on my bench was injured and out. So I was like, well, this is who I'm going with. I hope it works out. Yeah, no.
No. It's actually really funny how this paired out, especially with just the prior back and forth between you and Aaron. And so, hey man, funnily enough, I'm happy Aaron came out on top like that. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
And next year, a bottom feeder, just like the rest of us.
It's definitely one for the books. Interesting. It's poetic. Interesting that it happened. But you know what? I'll take it. It makes me stronger. It makes me stronger, dude. I'll bounce him back, dude. I got on the scale the other day. I got a little extra love right here, you know what I'm saying? So I'm a little bouncy. I'm a bounce back, you know what I'm saying? All right, let's move on. That was your King and Sausage, or what am I trying to say? King and Stanky Sausage of the week. And next up,
Bench Regrets.
Oh, bench regrets. Yeah, you know what? I'm on this list too, but I don't have any because they're all injured. Anyway, we'll get to that. All right, Cosmo, bench regrets.
Yeah, it's definitely some regrets this week. Let's start with Brandon, who actually didn't really have bench regrets. Matt Ryan was sitting on his bench with 22.4 points, but Tom Brady still scored 20 points. So really, that switch wouldn't have done anything against Taylor this week, thanks to Mr. Mike Evans. So no big regrets there from Brandon. Duncan, had a little bit of regrets, and I actually think he texted us right before his game. And unfortunately, neither me or Danny saw that, but he had a decision between Mike Williams and LaShawn McCoy, and ultimately he started Mike Williams. And
We don't
unfortunately,
know why.
LaShawn McCoy scored 21.5 points, being a bench regret this week. And also Demarcus Robinson scored a solid 11.8 points. So not good there from Duncan. Akshay, talk about a regretful week. Philip Lindsay was sitting on his bench for 27 points. And man, oh man, this guy must hate DJ Shark because once again he was on his bench, and once again he scored 15.6 points. Or I guess it's not once again because I guess he just picked him up. But yeah, not good there from DJ Shark. 15.6 points. You think the guy you would spend $25 on, you would put him in your lineup, but I guess not. I guess not this week. So some regrets there from Akshay. Not a great week for myself either, as I had some regrets. Miles Sanders scored 11.6 points, and Josh Gordon also scored 11.4 points. Both of those guys would have been better than those bums, Devontae Adams and Chris Godwin. So bad on there. And then finally, Danny. Man, I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but Danny actually did not have a single bench regret because I don't think a single player on his bench actually played.
Nope.
Yeah, dog. Yeah, how can you have a bench? Yeah, you have no bench regrets because you have no one.
Yeah, Melvin
I don't know
Gordon.
If that's better or worse.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon, Tyreek Hill, Michael Gallup, who else? Malcolm Brown. I was not playing any of those guys. So yeah, I think I got my first stinky sausage, and I think for the first time in Sausage Bowl podcast history, I got a stinky sausage with no bench regrets. So that's definitely one for the ages. So yeah, you know what? I suck. I don't even know why I'm doing this podcast. You know what, Cosmo? You take all the fantasy expertise from now on. I'm just gonna hit the soundboard.
Hey.
You can't even get that right. You can't hear it.
I'm not sure if you played anything, but cut yourself some slack. It wasn't that long ago. You won the championship. I think there are better days ahead. So
it's over, dude.
Just hang in there, buddy.
It's over, man. It's over. All right.
All right. Well, while I cheer up Danny, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment of the week. Danny, hit us with the next segment.
Oh yeah, I'm about to hit you with that.
Uh-oh. You feel something rumbling in your tummy, but you're in public. You're going to take the risk, and you're going to let it go anyway. Is it going to come out a fart or a shart?
Ooh, that fart and shart intro, man. Okay, fart and shart of the week here. As we always say, these are your risky plays, and whichever one works out the best, that's the fart of the week. Whichever one works out the worst, that is the shart of the week. And so that's right. This week's smooth fart goes to Brandon, playing Will Dissly against the New Orleans defense. New Orleans is usually very good against the tight ends, and Will Dissly is still kind of unproven. We're not sure about him, but Brandon said, I'm jumping in. I am taking this risk. I'm going to fart in public, and it's going to be okay. And he played Will Dissly against the New Orleans defense and got 15.2 points. Really helped him out at the tight end position. So yeah, Brandon escapes with no poop stains on his pants. How about that? That's really good, right, guys?
Yeah, I guess. Sometimes I like a little drip, but
Yeah, that's true.
That's just me.
It doesn't help. He already shit his pants when he played against me this week. So.
Oh God. Well, you know what? The person that didn't escape with some poop stains on their pants was me. Once again, that's right. The shart of the week this week is the Indianapolis defense, scoring 2 points for me. That's right. I played the Indianapolis defense against the Atlanta Falcons because I was like, you know what? Sometimes the defense that you don't expect is the one that goes off. And I was like, Matt Ryan's been throwing picks left and right. I mean, he's just been tossing them out. I think he's colorblind, doesn't realize which jerseys are his team's jerseys. He's just been, threw like 5 picks that like last week or something, and or whatever against the Vikings, I think it was. And so I was like, you know what? This is going to be my secret weapon this week. I'm going to play the Indianapolis defense, and they're going to get a bunch of points. And I actually looked pretty good for the first half of the game. I think they had like 11 points, and they had like a sack, and They might have had a pick or something. And then all of a sudden, Atlanta came out in the second half and just lit up the defense, and they ended up with 2 points. So I took the risk playing a defense against an offense like Atlanta, and it didn't work out. And now I've got shart stains all over my pants, my white pants here. I'm walking around shart stains.
Why is it? Why do they always have to wear white pants, man? Like, it's like people never learn from their mistakes.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm the shart of the week. Let me put on some white pants here. But all right, that is your fart and shart of the week. Next up, we have, where is the sound for it? Oh, here we go. Next up.
Sit back, relax, and open your mind wide, because Cosmo and Danny are about to give you the tip.
That's right, the tip of the week. Oh, I cut off the sound guy by accident. That's right, Cosmo and Danny's tip of the week here coming at you. Cosmo, I just threw this one in here. I was kind of thinking about it, whatever. Anyway, I said that you should pay attention to buy low and sell high candidates. So this is a key thing for trading here. If a player has been underperforming for a few weeks, maybe the owner's kind of tilting, maybe they want to look elsewhere, and this is where you can slide in and you can say, I'm offer you this for this guy, and it's in hopes that you're buying the stock low and you're hoping the stock rises, and then if you have players on your team that are overperforming, maybe they're just getting really lucky with some deep bomb touchdowns or whatever, but they're putting up huge points and it doesn't look like it's going to last. That's when you take that guy and you go to another team and say, hey, I'm going to sell this guy for these two, other players or something like that. And you get back good players. I mean, last year, like I sold, two high performing wide receivers to the first 3 weeks to Akshay for Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz wasn't performing too well for the first few weeks, and then those wide receivers dipped off, and Zach Ertz carried me to a championship. So, pay attention to things like that. Would you agree, Cosmo?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if everyone followed this advice, like you could end up with really good teams. But I think it like when you actually have the player that's performing well, even though you think they might not continue in the future, it's really hard to actually sell that player. But a lot of times you can profit by buying low on players that are good but are just not performing well. I mean, every single player in the league has bad games. I mean, if someone would have gone to Taylor with the bid after last week for Mike Evans, maybe Taylor might have been willing to sell him, and look what happened. He scored 41 points this week. So, I mean, you could definitely profit off of, buying low. Don't just look at how they're performing for the first couple of weeks. Every single player has bad games. Every single player has good games. Kind of like last week, you got to look at the trends. You got to look at their past performance, their actual skill, and determine who's going to be good going forward. And so, yeah, I think it's definitely a good advice in order to take advantage of these trades and do well. And we might be talking about that later on in the podcast. Not going to spoil too much.
Some people foreshadowing for future in the podcast. Some people like to buy high and sell low. Yeah, we'll get into that. So, yeah, but yeah, the Mike Evans one was a perfect example. So yeah, keep your eyes out, scan everyone's teams, keep checking every week, like, okay, how's this person performing? Get some trade targets in your head, and it's just like the stock market: buy low, sell high. Think of it that way. You'll make some good trades in the future. But all right, moving on to our weekly matchup review.
Time to find out if you're a loser or a winner. It's time for the weekly matchup review.
All right, sound drops over. All right, moving into the. Oh, what's up? What's up?
Like during these awkward pauses, I'm thinking like nursery rhymes or just like elevator music or something to like.
Yeah.
So like that last one, I was like, the wheels on the bus go around. I'm just sitting here, dog. It's just silent.
It feels so naked.
I know.
I feel so naked in this podcast.
Yeah, normally it plays through my mic to them on Discord so they can hear when the sound drops are going on, so it's not just like an awkward silence. But freaking Windows Update forced it. I might just
go to Apple.
No, God no. I might just reset my computer to before the update occurred, see if that fixes anything. But
Just kind of want to cough during it, like,
Yeah, yeah. So,
clearly.
all right, weekly matchup review here. Week 3, we had some interesting flips of the script here. So, let's just get this first one over with here. We had myself, Hit Squad, going against Scott's Tots Cameron. This was the now it messed up our seeds, but anyway, so 0-2 Hit Squad going against 1-1. Can't. Why is it miss? Why is it giving me the previous week? Anyway. So projected score here. Cameron was a blowout, 122 to 108, and man, it just ended even more of a blowout. Cameron won 120 to 73, giving me that stanky sausage here. Thanks to Aaron Rodgers, 13 points, Robert Woods 7, Manuel Sanders 2. Alvin Kamara obviously had a good week. Todd Gurley 4, Mark Andrews 3, Mostert 5.9, and my kicker and defense sucking. And then over on Cameron's side, of course, 28 points from Mahomes, 10 from Hopkins, who's been kind of down a little bit lately. 14 from Michael Thomas. Good to see him still up there. Austin Eckler 12, Sony Michel 7, 20 from Darren Waller. 6 from Marquise Brown, and then 21 from Chicago defense. Man, were we wrong about hating on him for that Chicago defense early pickup in the draft. They are doing well and defying what usually happens here. So Cameron moves to 2-1. I moved to 0-3. And yeah, it was some dark days. But do you take anything away from this, Cosmo?
Yeah. So I think Cameron's team has been very, very strong so far this season. I mean, he's consistently scored 120 and above. The only downside that is I think going to come about for Cameron's team and could be a downfall in the future is his running backs. I think are starting to actually look a little bit bad. Sony Michel has not looked at good at all. He's been one of the worst running backs in terms of breaking tackles and getting yards after contact. He has just straight up been not good, and is losing touches to Rex Burkhead. We all know Austin Eckler probably is going to lose a bit of value with Melvin Gordon coming back, and even Tevin Coleman is coming back, so Matt Breida might be affected. So if there's one area of concern for Cameron, that might be it. But overall, I mean, he's started off extremely hot. He's the second highest scoring in the league. He's been extra consistent. And Patrick Mahomes is showing that, screw all the people who say draft quarterbacks late. I mean, he's been well worth the high pick. So I think that's good there from Cameron. And I think for your team, I think it's just really hard to gauge the true value of your team right now. Like as it is right now, the people you started today or this week, yeah, not looking too good. But I mean, you just have so many X factors on your team with Melvin Gordon coming back. Tyreek Hill should be back soon. It's really hard to gauge what the true value of your team is right now. So I don't really think we can evaluate too much with you, other than the fact that you are taking a slow start in the records, but we could see a bounce back here. But Taylor, what are your thoughts on this matchup and how it went?
I'm actually on the same page as you, Cosmo. I was going back and kind of just because I went through all the matches from last week and tried to look at the points and differential. I think Sony Michel has just been straight up bust this year. He even against the Miami game, he only scored 12 points, and they have a non-existent defense. And while I know that the New England Patriots during that game, kind of had a lot of pass threats with Antonio Brown playing, but 12 points, 7 points, you're not expecting that from a running back. And with the Eckler situation kind of going on, you really do feel like the running back scenario for Cameron kind of is on the decline. So hopefully, I do wish the best for him. I think that in terms of teams, this is probably the most holistically strong team that he's had in a while, and so maybe through some waiver wire pickups and kind of abusing that fab, since he hasn't had to really throw out a lot of cash yet, he can probably get some great pickups. And then Danny, in your case, your team is shit, and this is what is expected from a shitty team. Like, you want me to feel sorry for you? Homie, no, I'm not. I was at the bottom last year. I reeled in. I know darkness. I live in this shit. No, but seriously, you do. It really is hard to see the value that you have. You're really just kind of. I think that what's positive here is, and this is the best look at it. Look at it is you kind of knocking it out of the way now to have smooth sailing later. Like, you're not going to really hopefully have to worry about these players down the line in these next few weeks whenever they're coming back and they've kind of been like you kind of knocking out the bad juju out of the way. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel that. So, all right, thanks, guys. I appreciate the word you pulled me back from the ledge, but we'll see how it goes next week. All right, next up here, we've got a classic, age-old matchup here. That is right. We had Aaron versus Akshay. This is always spicy, always fireworks. Public Enemy #1 versus Derrick Henry Dream. It was projected to be a win for Akshay, 116-106, and it turned out to be a win for Aaron, 148-117. Aaron grabbing the king sausage along the way, going to 1-2. Akshay falling to 2-1, and Aaron's team. Russell Wilson put it on his back with the snack stack with Tyler Lockett. 41 points from Russell Wilson, 26 from Tyler Lockett. Adam Thielen came in clutch with a rushing touchdown and a reception touchdown for 19 points. Nick Chubb, 15 points. Devonta Freeman bounced back game a little bit, 11 points. O.J. Howard came back from the dead for 8 points. David Montgomery got a lot of work, almost 10 points. And over on Akshay's side here, we had Dak, 22 points, always consistent. T.Y. Hilton, 16 points before leaving with an injury. Sammy Watkins, just looking like a shell of himself from week 1 with 8 points. David Johnson, 15. Derrick Henry, 11. Jason Witten, 6.9. And Aaron Jones, 15, and then 13 from his defense. But it was not enough to overcome the king sausage this week with Aaron. And I think some of the moves Aaron has made in the most recent trades and stuff like that looks like it's actually helping his team this week. Russell Wilson, obviously good with the stack with Tyler Lockett. Adam Thielen performed well for him. He didn't have very strong receivers coming into the season. Now he's got 2 pretty strong receivers. We got Nick Chubb, Devonta Freeman, and I think if he just addresses a couple other spots on his team, I think he can have a really strong team going forward into the year. And then Akshay, I think it's just a down week for Akshay. I mean, his guys didn't score terrible. I mean, 117 is still pretty good. It's just when you're going up against the king sausage, nothing you can do. So, Taylor, any thoughts on this matchup here?
I mean, it's honestly, I think I texted Cosmo this earlier this week. It's great to see that across the board. I think all of the teams of the league are, kind of competing with competitive viability, right? I think that anyone can really have a shot at the king sausage. And so, for Akshay's team, yeah, he has a very solid team. Y'all guys have been saying it for weeks. I've been saying it for a while. It's just an underperforming week. I think that Dak Prescott is performing to the best of his abilities. I think that going forward, that is something that you might have to watch. He has some tougher matchups coming along, but I still think he's going to be, flying through the seams. He has a solid quarterback pick. And then Aaron's team just really exploded. And I think the only area really of contention might be, kind of shifting the defenses, because you can't trust Tampa Bay, and really watching how Howard proceeds forward, since he really did have a rocky start. But with Adam Thielen there, who's really pulling a lot from Stephon Diggs, I know for a fact that they're really going to focus on that, and all they have is a run focused offense, and so he's going to be milking that going forward. So great matchup. Cosmo.
I think both. Akshay's been really consistent this year, even in his loss again, 117, which I think is the lowest he scored this season. So he's got off to a really nice start. I think he still has a pretty good team, but as we'll get to later, I just wish he would stick with some of his players because, I think one of the biggest contributors here, David Johnson, had such a great week and is looking like a focal point of that Arizona offense. Dak Prescott, though, I mean, Akshay deserves a lot of praise for that pickup. Dak Prescott's looking like one of the best pickups, quarterback drafts in all the weeks. So good on you, Akshay, for that. In terms of Aaron's team, I still stand by the fact that I think he even admitted himself, like he's trying new stuff in our league. And I think not picking a receiver until round 7 was not a good idea at all. And I think it hurt his team having to kind of trade from positions of strength in some cases. But I got to say, I do think he has recovered very nicely and he's made some really nice moves. And I think Tyler Lockett, I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think Tyler Lockett will finish as a top 5 receiver this year. I think this guy is legitimately a top tier receiver. He's shown like the last 2 seasons that he has the elite ability. And now that he's actually getting the passing volume that he lacked kind of last year, I think the sky's the limit with him. So I think this was a great pickup from Aaron. Russell Wilson, I also think, was a very underrated quarterback coming into this season. I think too many people, myself included, were too scared of like how much run heavy the Seahawks were going to be. But so far this season, it hasn't really looked like that. And Russell Wilson's looking like one of the best values. So, I still don't agree with the strategy, but I think Aaron has pivoted very nicely since the draft and has a team together now that's looking okay.
Yeah, he did tell us he had a strategy after the draft, so looks like it's working so far this week at least. So we'll see how it goes going forward. All right, next matchup here we had Gabe Frogs Duncan going against Curry Onyo, Donner or Donor, whatever. I was told I don't know, whatever. Rahi. This one was projected a win for Rahi, 120 to 118. So very close matchup. Didn't end up so close. Rahi came in with a smashing 140 points, just beating Duncan down with 115. And Rahi almost grabbed that King Sausage of the Week, but barely missed out on it. 22 points from Carson Wentz. Disappointing. He only got 3 points from Kenny Galladay, still got 140. Larry Fitzgerald, 12 points. Christian McCaffrey, 26. Joe Mixon came back to life with 16 points. Zach Ertz, 8. Cooper Kupp, almost 30 points. 10 from his kicker and 15 from his defense on Duncan's side. 21 from Lamar Jackson. 22 from Julio Jones, who has a touchdown in every single game this year, which is surprising. Oh, he had 2 touchdowns last week. So
don't make me salty, Danny.
Yeah, I know he didn't score a touchdown for me until week 8 last year, but whatever. So yeah, he actually has 4 touchdowns on the season, which is pretty crazy. 10 from Christian Kirk. 8 from Lev Bell, who tried everything he could to carry that Jets offense against New England last week. But when you have Nick Falk as your quarterback, that's not really going to happen. So Marlon Mack, 15.8 points. Nice game for him. Travis Kelce, the new pickup, 12.4 points. Mike Williams, don't know why you played him, 6 points. Zane Gonzalez, 9 points. And the Los Angeles defense, 9 points. Really good game from Rahi here. Gets his second win, goes to 2-1. Duncan falls to 1-2. But yeah, like we said, Rahi's team always looks solid. They, I guess last week a little volatile, kind of disappointed. But he's looking strong and almost got that king sausage. So I think maybe just a couple more tweaks to his team and he'll have a pretty stout team going forward. Duncan, you think everything's okay on the front for Duncan, or he's got to panic a little bit?
I like Duncan's team. I mean, he hasn't huge blow up weeks yet, but he's been pretty consistent. And I think his team is really solid, especially after that trade he made with Aaron. I think one player in particular that I was completely wrong about and that has been phenomenal for Duncan is Marlon Mack. I really thought that that Andrew Luck retiring was going to really impact the offense, but I think in some ways it might have actually helped Marlon Mack. I think they're relying on him even more. I think he leads the league in rushing attempts, so they are feeding him the ball, and he's performing. He has a very nice 1-2 punch there with Lev Bell and Marlon Mack. So I think Duncan's team is looking actually really good, and I think he could have one of those late runs in the season where he starts middle of the pack for most of the season, but once those final weeks of the season start coming along, I think he could really rise. And in terms of Rahi's team, I think Rahi deserves some credit. I think he really drafted a good team. It's almost like when your first round pick doesn't get doesn't show up. You think good things can happen here, but in particular, I think the Cooper Kupp pick is going to go down as one of the best picks of the draft. I think we all liked it at the time, but it's looking like really good. I think he's a legitimate wide receiver one. So good job there, Rahi. I think both of these teams are looking pretty solid. Taylor, what do you got to say about two of some of your most biggest mortal enemies?
I consider both of these rivals, more so Duncan. But Rahi, I think he's a pathetic human being. But in terms of his team, I mean, this actually pains me to say, as much as I despise Rahi in general, I think that his team, he's always been great at drafting. He's one of those guys who you just know is going to go to playoffs. Has a consistent pull. I think I agree with you right there that that cut pickup was fantastic when he did. And he still has, if I'm not mistaken, still has pretty much all of his fat money. And so he's sitting on cash, has a strong team. And I really feel like it's just going to get because of kind of the way that he's positioned, he's only going to continue to have more power, especially the longer that his team gets to keep on performing like this, because he won't really have to run the waiver wire, especially having, even a strong backup on the tight end spot. And so we'll see how it goes going forward. And then with Duncan's team, I do think he has a great team. I wouldn't have expected this out of Marlon Mack, but whenever NFL's actually been posting the stats of some of the top running backs, top wide receivers every week. They do it in like a picturesque format on Facebook, and Marlon Mack has been there every week, and he's been performing well. And it's just a down week for Duncan. I think that he needs to make some tweaks to maybe some of these auxiliary positions, in particular, his flex spot, and maybe trying to see how he can find somebody who might be a better fit for that. But going forward, I do think these guys are always going to be two of the strongest people in the league, and we'll see Duncan kind of get a full-on end of the season run.
Yeah, I agree. I noticed that Rahi hasn't spent much of his fab, and so if something crazy comes along, he can just slam down that fab and make his team even stronger. So, looking good for both of those teams. Let's see. Next up here. Oh, that's right. We got our very own bow down to Saquon. I guess you're bowing down to him to help him off the field. You know what I'm saying? Because he can't walk. Anyway, we're going against Antonio Brown sucks with Brandon. So Taylor versus Brandon here, projected as a 126 to 110 win for Taylor, and it ended up being 134 to 92. Taylor goes to 1-2. Brandon falls to 1-2. So a really nice game for Taylor here. 20 points from Phillip Rivers, 41 from Mike Evans, 1 from Calvin Ridley, 5 from Saquon, rip, 33.5 from Mark Ingram, and then most of his other points came from Greg the Leg, 10 points, and Dallas defense, 12 points. On Brandon's side, a nice 20 from Tom Brady, 19 from Nelson Aguilar, 12 from Leonard Fournette, 15 from Disley, but not much from everyone else, resulting in the 92 overall score. Did you know Leonard Fournette had like 2 points until he did his like 69-yard run?
Yeah.
And then it's like
he was literally like 8 rush attempts for -9 yards, something like that. he was negative. Carry until the long run. Yeah, he was bad.
Yeah, not looking good. Taylor, your team, I think, is looking solid. You made some good moves we'll get into that I think made it even stronger, and then bounce back from the Saquon Barkley loss. So looking good for Taylor. Gets his first win in week 3 this year, unlike last year. So looking pretty good for Taylor. And then Brandon, this is kind of how it always starts out for Brandon, so I'm not really going to be down on Brandon. I'm sure by week 6 he'll be like number 3 in the rankings. So just the usual for Brandon. Nothing to see here. Cosmo, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, not to toot our own horns, but we kind of predicted this Taylor bounce back, even though his scoring was looking pitiful the first 2 weeks, and it looked like history was like repeating itself. We saw the buy low talent, going back to our lesson. We saw the players that were performing bad but had the opportunity to bounce back, and they bounced back strong here, scoring a whopping 134 points. I think Taylor's team, I was a little bit nervous when Saquon Barkley got injured, and I thought that actually was the end for Taylor. But as we'll get to later, I think Taylor bounced back very nicely with some moves. So I think Taylor's team is looking very nice here. The one problem here is Stephon Diggs, and Taylor might want to have to do something there. In terms of Brandon's team, I'm actually a little bit concerned with his running backs. And 2 of these guys that are underperforming, and I'm worried about. These are 2 guys that I was high on in the season, so it's very surprising to see what they're doing so far. But both James Conner and Leonard Fournette are looking pretty scary right now. James Conner is just his snap percentage is decreasing significantly from last year when he was being used as a workhorse back. He's not getting as much volume as he did last year, and he's just not performing well. The Steelers' offense just looks not that great with Mason Rudolph underhand. And unfortunately, this is something Brandon couldn't predict. No one knew Ben Roethlisberger was going to go down for the season, but I think it's really hurting James Conner's future outlook. And then Leonard Fournette, the numbers that he put up this week do not tell the story of how good he was this week, as Danny was saying. Like this guy I think we could break more tackles than Leonard Fournette, honestly. I mean, I think he's going to be out of the league in like 3 years. I'm calling it. So I think a little concerned here from Brandon, but Brandon has proven in the past that he's a very, very, very highly qualified fantasy player. I mean, he didn't win 2 titles for a reason, so I'm sure he can bounce back. But right now, I think there are some danger problems on his team. What say you, Taylor?
Well, this is black on black violence. Of course, I condone this. I'm so happy to crush this pathetic bum and his crappy team. And I only could no, but seriously, my team, Cosmo, I'm pretty sure I might have texted this to you. Or maybe we talked about it on chat. Stephon Diggs is catching the bench. I mean, I watched Minnesota. I've been keeping up with their games. He's a fantastic receiver, but they're just so run heavy, and even they're using Thielen exclusively for a lot of the option play and even the cutbacks here. So, there's just really, I'm not dropping him. Don't get any ideas, you bitches, but I definitely have to just keep an eye on him. He has been underperforming, and in terms of if I want to go across the board with my team, I really do think, I probably had a great chance at King Sausage this week had Saquon not gotten hurt, so that kind of irked me. And Calvin Ridley getting 1 point. I know most people will be upset, but I don't think that's a proper representation of his skill set. I just don't think he was targeted. I think Atlanta they decided to spread around the ball a little more, kind of giving some other people some love, and so that's not a proper reflection. I'm just really happy that Mike Evans actually became Mike Evans and went against a team that was like not triple coveraging him so he could get the ball for a little bit. And they really decided to use him a lot more creatively. Like they threw it to him right across the field on during a touchdown play. And it's been really great to see just his performance. Then on Brandon's team, I think right now, my not recommendation, because I'm sucking this year, but my recommendation that I could really tell him is that I think the running back spot for him is really his weak spot, and so his best bet honestly would probably be to look for. He needs to be bad in these favors. He needs to be throwing the big bucks to try and pull in some running backs to kind of just cushion these blows, especially consider I don't even like his flex spot option, to be honest. He needs some stronger. I would recommend a stronger receiver, and so really, I really think that he needs to kind of leverage out his fab utilization and try and pick up some of the slack, especially since he lost Antonio Brown, and so that's really what it is. But we know Brandon, with his luck and skill, he'll be right there. In the playoffs, and so I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah. All right, we'll get into our last matchup of week 3 here. We had a clash of the Titans. Yeah, that's right. We had the 1 seed going against the 2 seed. Or actually, I think at the time it was 1 versus 3 because Akshay was somehow at 2. But anyway, that's right. Cosmo going against Nahum here, both 2-0. And it was projected to be a 128 to 125 win for Nahum, and it ended up being 132 to 120 for Nahum. Nahum squeaked out the win here and going to 3-0. And Cosmo goes to 2-1. On Nahum's side, we had a nice 25 points from Deshaun Watson. Juju Smith-Schuster got a nice touchdown, giving him 15.6 points. 37 from Keenan Allen, 15 from Ezekiel Elliott, 3 from Chris Carson, 0.6 from Hawkinson. Hawkinson actually, I'm sorry to tell you this, Nahum, he actually had 3 potential touchdowns this week. One was like a toe tap touchdown in the back of the end zone where his foot was like barely on the back of the line, so they called him out. And then the other 2, he dropped both of them. So yeah, it went from being like a 18 to 20 point week to 0.6. So yeah, that kind of sucks there. 23.8 from Amari Cooper. And so it looks like he got some explosions that helped offset his duds of the week. And then on Cosmo's side, 18 from Josh Allen, 7.6 from Devonta Adams. They need to just get him the ball more and stop trying to run with Jamal Williams. Edelman, 15.7 points. Dalvin Cook, 22 points. Kerryon Johnson, 11. Evan Ingram, 20. And then 14 from the ever so stout New England defense. So not a bad week at all by either team. Just Nahum happened to get the win here. So, good for them. And I think there's really not much to say about either of y'all's teams. I guess if I had to say something, I feel like Devonta Adams is going to bounce back. They played some really tough defenses the first 3 weeks, and I think now they're going to go on a bit of a run. And then on Nahum's side, Keenan Allen, great performance. But one thing I will say is that Keenan Allen's targets go way down when Melvin Gordon plays. So you might want to keep your eye on that, Nahum.
Drop him.
Yeah, drop Keenan Allen. But yeah, and then Nahum might need to be looking at the tight end position just for something that's a little bit more consistent. And I will say, I advised him to go after Hawkinson, so I feel bad. But and I mean, he did have 3 potential touchdowns that would have changed his whole week around. But the Detroit Lions aren't a very consistent passing offense, and so it could just not bounce his way, but maybe give him one more week or so. I mean, you got the win. You're 3-0. I wouldn't worry about it too much right now, but that's something to keep your eye on. You might have to just kind of say, look, I paid up for him in Fab, but I got to just get rid of him. That was one of our tips. We said don't hold on to draft capital or Fab capital. If you need to get rid of someone, you need to get rid of someone. So, Taylor, what do you think about this clash of the Titans?
These guys, both of their teams are great. Cosmo, I give you shit any 5 seconds I can, but respecting your team, I think it's great. I think actually Cosmo's team really highlights one key thing that I do believe in fantasy: the real importance of the auxiliary positions. Tight end and defenses. That New England defense for you, Cosmo, is just is ridiculous. It's a good defense, and it's pulling in some great points. Granted, their first 3 games of the season have been against softer teams, but that's definitely making a key differentiator. And then Evan Ingram with Saquon out, that guy's only going to get more utilization. So I just think that Cosmo's getting even more of a boost going forward. And hopefully they use Adams more to really give you a full rounded out team. And then for Nahum, really the only spot is really looking at tight ends, just to kind of help our cushions. You can have some more consistency. You came out on top, this week, but you want to keep looking forward. I think that all the rest of your spots are looking good. Tight end, but I already traded my best tight end on my team. So, what can I do? Cosmo, going on to you.
Just real quickly. I think the most frustrating thing in fantasy, when you're playing fantasy, is when you're up against your opponent and all your players are gone, and then your opponent has 3 players left, and you're just watching them slowly and slowly and slowly catch you. And that's what happened this week. I was just watching, they would not stop throwing the ball to Keenan Allen, and I was just so mad, and eventually just got to the point where I'm losing, and that's what happened. So good on there from Nahum. It was brutal to watch, but you well-earned, well-deserved victory there, and hopefully I can get you next time.
Yeah, well, that was our matchup review here, and I wanted to throw in, let's get a quick leaderboard update here. I think we forget to do that a lot of times, so just to give everyone the lay of the land here. So through 3 weeks here, we've got number 1, Nahum at 3-0 with 374 points for. And then coming in right behind him at number 2, we have Cosmo at 2-1 with 411 points for. And then number 3, Cameron, 2-1 with 401 points for. And then number 4, Derrick Henry, Dream. I don't know why I just said there. Anyway, Akshay, number 4, 2-1, 394 points. And then number 5, rounding out the 2-1s, we have Rahi, 2-1, 355 points in the 5th spot. And then Duncan here starts off number 6, 1-2, 350 points. Brandon, number 7, 1-2. Aaron, number 8, 1-2. Taylor, number 9, 1-2. And then there's me at the bottom, 0-3. The hit squad, more like the bottom squad. So, yeah, number 10, 0-3 is me. I just see this big L-3 next to my name, and I'm eating the L's right now.
Hey,
so
you started 0-3 last year too, so
that is true.
You never know.
That is true. So, all right, that is your matchup review, and now let's get into everyone's favorite segment here.
Get your fab ready. It's time to make it rain on them hoes.
You know, Taylor, I really wish you could have heard that sound drop there because I think it would have been nice to see your reaction on that one. But anyway, that is right. Transaction review. We are at that time here. Get your fab ready and make it rain. That's right. Taylor did this week with Wayne Gallman. $25 from Taylor for Wayne Gallman, beating out 21 from Nahum, 21 from Cam, 12 from Brandon, and 6 from Cosmo, who I don't even know what he thought he was doing there, tossing that $6 in like you were going to win. Whatever, man. But yeah, Taylor filled in that hole from Saquon, picked up his backup and said, look, if anyone's going to have Saquon's backup, it's going to be me. $25, mark it down. Going to get a lot of volume in the next weeks until Saquon comes back. So, you know, he got a lot of receptions. He did really well at Clemson. So maybe, you know, with this new offense and he's got the chance, maybe he can be pretty productive. So, but on volume alone, I think is a pretty solid pickup and fills a hole that you need right now, Taylor. So I think spending $25 on that is no problemo right there. What say you, Cosmo?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fine pick. Like, especially for Taylor, who I think before this move had 2 healthy running backs, so really needed a running back, and he's a guy who's going to play, which these days is really hard to find a lead back on a team. The only hesitation I have is 2 years ago, the same season where I drafted Isaiah Crowell in the 3rd round and Marshawn Lynch in the 4th round. We have to get into that. There was a good stretch of the season where I was forced to start Orleans Darkwa in my starting roster, who was the lead back for the New York Giants when they weren't very good, and that did not go well. And so I think my problem here is that if it's not, just because a player has volume and they're getting a lot of opportunity doesn't necessarily mean they're going to scream success here. But I don't hate the opportunity to take the shot on him, especially when you're hurting that running back.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we all have to remember this is Wayne Gallman. This isn't Saquon Barkley. This isn't Saquon Gallman. This is Wayne Gallman. Okay, like he's been in the league a few years, hasn't really done a ton of stuff, but he's got a lot of volume. It's a new offense. Got Danny Dimes in there, and I could see him easily being an 8 to 15 point player a week. So Taylor, let's give you the floor. What do you say about this pickup here?
I'm kind of the same with y'all. It's not like I'm 100% sold on Wayne Gallman. He's my honestly, he's my side hoe to my main steak dinner, Saquon, who while he's away from me,
Yeah.
But I want to give him the opportunity. Honestly, I'm actually kind of astonished that I got him, especially with how hot of a waiver pickup he is this week. There's a lot of teams in the league who are kind of shitting at running back right now, and so I'm really happy I did. I know with a volume, I know Cosmo that you're hesitant mainly on, he might not be able to convert the volume, but I bet as somebody who genuinely has been watching the Giants running game so closely as much as I have, I think that Wayne is going to, especially with the new way that they're playing the offense, I think they're prior for him. I do think they're going to give him a lot of opportunities to be utilized in a lot of passing and receiving options. But not only that, he's going to be that, we're close to the goal line. We're going to use this as the option. They're going to give him an opportunity. I'm hoping that he kind of fills in the same way that Ingram does, where, that Ingram's going to be there for the touchdown goals, even though, Ingram does have a shared back. And since Gallman doesn't have a shared back, they're going to have to feed him the ball. So I'm willing to take the risk. I'm willing to have the opportunity. I don't think he's going to perform to Saquon's numbers, but yeah, I'm right there with you. If I'm getting 15, 12 points out of him every week, what more could I have asked for, right?
Yeah, that is true. Well, moving on to the next hot pickup of the week, we had Danny Dimes Jones, and our boy Taylor picked him up to $13 to Taylor for Danny Dimes, beating out Cameron $8 and Akshay $1. Like, same thing. Why are you even playing? You toss him $1, whatever. Anyway, Danny Dimes Jones goes to Taylor. I know you've been dealing with the Cam Newton problems lately, and you had Phillip Rivers to fill in this week, but yeah, Daniel Jones looks really good in that offense against Tampa. I will say this, like, Pat Shurmur was the guy behind Case Keenum's really crazy good year in Minnesota. Like where Case Keenum was throwing it all over the place, that was Pat Shermer. He goes to the Giants, and I think Eli's just been terrible at trying to, do his offense. And you saw having someone younger in there that could run the ball, could actually make the throws,
Hmm.
everything. It just the offense was clicking so well. And that I actually think there's a chance. I mean, of course, he's a rookie. He's going to have rookie mistakes, but I think you're going to get some solid 20 plus point weeks out of Daniel Jones. And I think if that, now you know what his ceiling is. You know what he can do. You know he can come back from large deficit and pass a lot. So I think you've got a nice floor there and a really higher ceiling that, Philip Rivers doesn't give you that high ceiling, and Cam Newton isn't giving you diddly squat right now. So, yeah, I think this was a good pickup. Cosmo, you believe in Danny Dimes?
I think I'm less bullish on this move. It's one
Danny
game.
Dimes!
We've seen one game of Daniel Jones.
Dimes!
It was an impressive game, but I just don't think I would have spent $13 on a guy who had one good game, a lot of bad film in college, and a lot of
Danny
bad statistics in
Dimes.
college. I'm not saying he can't be good, but I just think it was a little bit of recency bias here with Daniel
Dimes.
Jones, and I think there are a lot of good quarterbacks already sitting on the waivers. I just don't really see the need to
Danny
spend a lot of
Dimes.
money. One guy in particular is Andy Dalton. I think is an underrated quarterback this year. Look what he's been doing with a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
That's all
that
I'm
is
gonna say.
true.
But
That is true. It makes a big difference.
but yeah, Taylor, you go ahead and attack me on this one. And
Danny
what
Dimes.
was your thought process here with Danny Dimes?
I mean, I'm Cosmo. I'm a lot more risque than you are.
We know
I
that.
mean, I tried to. I tried to. I'm a little. I mean, I haven't been spending money like Big Baller Danny over there. But I think that it's okay to take some risks sometimes. I wanted to block out the opportunity of someone getting a running back getting a quarterback who does blow up. Right now, I had honestly, I had Cam Newton. He's for right now because he's dropped. I want to give this kid a shot. I do have Philip Rivers in the backup. He is right. Honestly, that kind of quelled my kind of quarterback issues for the moment. He, no matter what, I know he's going to pass a lot. The dude doesn't run, so I know he's going to have a lot of movement. Even when Melvin Gordon comes back, I still think Rivers is going to have a lot of great opportunities to get me some points. And so having Mr. Dimes, Danny Dimes, sitting on my bench and hopefully giving me some
Danny
opportunities,
Dimes.
I get to watch him. And if he does blow up, hey man, I have the opportunity to play him. If he doesn't, well, really, it's $13. I kind of saved a little money through some other maneuvers this week, and so I'm all good. I think I have some more confidence in this.
Yeah, moving on to the next interesting pickup here. We got Philip Dorsett, $12 for Duncan, and beating out Cameron's $5. I think it's interesting pickup, with Antonio Brown being out of the picture. I think, Philip Dorsett has been out there a lot more, getting a lot more snaps. Tom Brady's been throwing it downfield a lot more this year, and he's been reaping the benefits of that. And so I think Duncan wanted some wide receiver depth, and I think Philip Dorsett was a good pickup there. I mean, it might not work out, might be a little hard to predict when he's going to have good weeks, but if you got the money, you're spending it, I guess why not? What do you say, Cosmo?
Yeah, I think it's a solid pickup. I think the Patriots offense is definitely has shifted to become more pass happy rather than run heavy like last year. So I think Philip Dorsett is a fine option here. No issue.
Yeah. And then the next person I wanted to highlight in the fab bidding was Brandon. So Brandon, ever since Antonio Brown left him high and dry, he has been trying to find his next wide receiver. He's been riding Nelson Aguilar a little bit the last couple of weeks while the Eagles receivers have been out, but he needs to find a more permanent solution. So he spent $12 on Mecole Hardman and $10 on Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who just needs to get a name change. Please get a name change, dude. I'm tired of saying your name. But yeah, so he spent big on receivers this week. Mecole, I think, is a little risky with Tyreek Hill coming back. He might just go back to being on the bench, being the fourth option there. But if Tyreek Hill's not playing next week, there's a pretty good chance he's going to catch like an 80-yard touchdown. So might help you out there. And then MVS is looking to be more and more involved in the Packers offense. I think more targets will start to go Devontae Adams' way, but that will just open more things from MVS and get more deep shots down the field. So, he's looking for that wide receiver, and he spent up. Cosmo, you think he spent too much money this week on these wide receivers, or what do you say?
I think he spent a little too much on Mecole Hardman. It's kind of similar reasons why I wasn't crazy about the Demarcus Robinson pickup last week. I feel kind of the same way about Mecole Hardman. I think it's just going to be really hard to predict when he's going to go off, especially when Tyreek Hill comes back, which should be very soon. But I do really like the MVS, and I think he's going to be well worth the $10 that Brandon spent. I think this guy is the clear number 2 in an Aaron Rodgers offense. He's already getting a lot of targets, on pace for over 100 targets. So I think he's actually very interesting and worth a shot this far in the league. What about you, Taylor? What do you think about these moves?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just happy to see Brandon, throw. I think that with his team, he should. I'm honestly surprised he didn't go for Gallman, considering his running back drought. He should have been probably the person to throw out the most money. But it's great to see these moves. We're gonna see how they pay off. Like I said beforehand, I'm not as particularly stringent on risky moves like you might be, Cosmo. But I think that with I'm not saying God, Marquise Valdes Scott. I think that he's actually gonna get. I think he's gonna get some great performance there, and hopefully Hardman actually shows out as well. I really do want to see. I do want to see Brandon succeed with these new pickups, and I do like seeing these individuals being given an opportunity.
Yeah, well, Cosmo, since you're our commissioner, why don't you give us the trade update of the week?
Yeah, it's a trade, all right. It's a trade, all right. We made a trade go down, and the exact details of the trade: Taylor has received from Akshay, David Johnson and Delaney Walker. Akshay has received Calvin Ridley and Austin Hooper. Well, Taylor, give us the thought process on what went down with this trade and how it came to be, and your thought process behind making this move.
Whew, hold up. Danny, can you go? Excuse me. No, I'm laughing because y'all guys have been giving Akshay so much shit for this. But on the real, so the first thing that happens is Saquon goes down. After I go through my dramatic moment, my grieving period, I wore all black on Monday, and then I come into Tuesday. I scan the team because I actually rarely make trades. I think that they're pretty self-centered. Everyone's trying to get on top. And so I'd never the people I get trades from mostly outside of, Danny shooting his shot every chance he gets is are individuals who definitely aren't offering a fair trade-off. I think that we have some people in the league who are difficult to trade with. And then ever since the whole CJ Spiller thing, I've been scarred so long that I don't trust. But I definitely suck a dick. I'll never get over it. But I was dumber. I wasn't as. I will grant you things. I know that forced me really made me the next few years, and even to now, I study fantasy and watch games and actually take notes and shit, and so it's made me a better fantasy player. But. So I look at the teams. I'm like, hey, who needs a? I know in the position that has been scoring the most for me has been Austin Hooper. He has been doing pretty well so far. And with Calvin Ridley, I know that I have an overabundance of receivers, and so I do think that I would be able to shirk off some people in order to kind of get a base level running back. And so I look across the league. I see that the running back problems across the board, but I do notice that Akshay, he has Witten starting. And so obviously, he needs a tight end. I'm able to provide those tight ends for him. And I actually was probably going to go for Philip Lindsay. I pushed for a little more just because I actually was, to be honest, I was willing to go as far as to, take the risk on Hooper since it's the tight end. And, you can kind of get away if you have some good other auxiliaries and maybe give up Kettle if I get something. But, I decided to see what I could get for Hooper. And, we ended up with a running back. And so I think that for me, this move, when Saquon comes back, just in time for playoffs. It'll pay off in the long run. But y'all guys can give your opinions. I think it's a fair trade. But y'all can go ahead.
I mean,
Danny, you want to take this first?
yeah. Where's the sound drop? Oh yeah. Oh, that's what I needed. Okay. I played the Stanky Sauce sound drop. Anyway. So yeah, I just don't. I don't get it. I mean, like clockwork, we hit week 3. We hit week 3 of the fantasy season, and boom, Akshay sells some of his top assets here. Just like we said, buy low, sell high. Akshay is buying high and selling low. I mean, as much as I like Calvin Ridley, and he's been performing pretty well. I don't have any problems with him. Austin Hooper, I mean, normally Austin Hooper is not too good, so I don't know if this is like just a fluke or with the new offense. Dirk Cutter's in there. OJ Howard was pretty good last year, so maybe he's the new tight end this year. But he's gotten a lot of targets and he's gotten some touchdowns, so he might be legit. But I think what it really comes down to is I don't really care about like player for player. Like Calvin Ridley's probably going to score a good amount of points. Austin Hooper's probably going to be pretty consistent, all that stuff, whatever. It's more just like the situation of your team, right? Like David Johnson is someone you build your team around. Like he's been performing well. He hasn't been like lighting the world on fire, but he's been performing well with the new offense. Last week he just had that wrist injury that took him out for most of the game, so his points look bad there. But otherwise, he's been above 15 points each week, and so like I think Akshay thought his need at tight end was greater than it actually was. Like Delaney Walker might have had like one bad week, but he's got he's consistent and has a chance to blow up for like 20 plus points each week. And so I think he thought his problems were a lot worse than they actually were. And I think like if you're gonna go get a tight end, like try to get a tight end without giving up your top running back. You know what I'm saying? It's like so now you're basically like I view Hooper and Walker on basically the same plane. Maybe Hooper's a little bit higher. So basically you just traded Calvin Ridley or you traded David Johnson for Calvin Ridley, and we all know running backs are a lot more of a hot commodity, especially someone like David Johnson. So yeah, I just think it's like it was last year when he traded Kamara and everything, and Keenan Allen and all that stuff. Like I think we're just starting to see a bit of the same where I don't know, people start performing well for Akshay, and he just has this urge to get him off his team. So I don't know what it is, but I just kind of shook my head when I saw this, and I think great move for Taylor. He loses Saquon, now he can put David Johnson there. He's got Mark Ingram, and then he picked up Wayne Gallman if he wants to use him maybe in the flex or something. So yeah, I think Taylor repaired his team pretty well, and yeah, I think Akshay, these things end up having a way of working out for Akshay. So I'm sure Calvin Ridley will be fine. I'm sure Austin Hooper will be fine. It's more just like I don't know what the word is, but just like behind the trade. I just feel like yeah, like Taylor said, Akshay, for you, this would have been a good move to go like Philip Lindsay plus Walker for Calvin Ridley and Hooper, because you get a solid wide receiver in Ridley, you get a solid tight end in Hooper, and you give up someone that has been on your bench for the last like 3 weeks. So, even though he performed well with that Broncos offense, it was probably a fluke. So this is all I'm saying is like you want to look at these situations and go, okay, who am I not using on my bench that someone else might be interested in, and I can flip them for someone that I can actually use. And instead you give away David Johnson, who's like your cornerstone running back. So, I mean, well, I guess for you it's Derrick Henry, but your second cornerstone running back. And so it's more just things like that. It's like take a second to pause and be like, okay, this guy's initiating a trade with me. He wants the best for himself. He's not looking out the best for me. Like if someone's trading with you, I mean, I try to make it as fair as possible when trading. But at the end of the day, like I'm initiating the trade with you. Obviously, there's a reason I want those guys instead of the guys I have. So it's the same with everyone. And so if someone's coming after your David Johnson, like you kind of like obviously he's good, and so but when you have someone like Philip Lindsay on your bench, you could have put Philip Lindsay in there, and this trade would have been much better for yourself, Akshay. So just things like that kind of make me roll my eyes a bit. And I mean, I know I throw hate, and sometimes it blows up in my face. And obviously, I'm 0-3 or whatever. And the Aaron Jones thing is working out for now, is better than we thought, at least fantasy point wise. But I just think when you give up someone like David Johnson, you end up regretting it. But anyway, what do you think, Cosmo?
Okay, can I chime in real quick?
Yeah.
Danny, I think you're underselling the utilization of Hooper. I think this is a fair trade across the board, and
Look, we've got Taylor's stance on this. Don't worry. I've come on the podcast before and said, "Oh, yeah, but the trade I was just involved in, I think it's very even, very fair."
Y'all are harping on it. I think it's I said that I don't go for people, and I want to make it as fair as possible. So, Mister Judgy Two Shoes over there, get off your high horse and try and examine it from our perspective. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
All right, it's actually really good. David Johnson's gonna like break his leg next week. It'll be good, and Calvin Ridley's gonna go on to be a top 5 receiver, and so will Austin Hooper. So good job, Akshay. Cosmo, what do you say?
Yeah, I think you said a lot of the same points I was thinking. I mean, I don't want to harp on Akshay, and we were obviously wrong on the last trade. It's worked out a lot better, and so we could be wrong here. But David Johnson was drafted as a top 10 player, and he's been performing exactly like that. If you look at all the running backs that are in existence right now, it is really brutal to find good running backs. And Akshay just gave up one of the best ones in the league. I mean, he's a focal point of that Cardinals offense. He's been great. He's had like one game where he scored below 10 points, but I mean, it was like 9 points. I think he has like a touchdown every single game. He's involved in the pass game, in the rushing game. It is hard to find a player like that. That's why he costs a first-round pick. So if you're trading David Johnson, which I don't think you should, if you're trading him, you need to get something elite back. And he got nice complementary pieces back. He did not get great pieces. Austin Hooper and Calvin Ridley are competing against themselves for targets in that offense. Like when Calvin Ridley benefits, Austin Hooper doesn't. And they're both not the top offense in that Atlanta Falcons offense. Devontae Freeman's also getting passes. Mohamed Sanu's getting passes in that offense. So getting rid of David Johnson is such a good player, and I think it's going to really hurt Akshay's team. I know Philip Lindsay did good, which is why I'm thinking he might have felt comfortable making that move. But Philip Lindsay only started doing good because Royce Freeman got taken out of the game with an injury, and that's when Philip Lindsay made his scores. And Royce Freeman's fine now, so I don't necessarily think this is going to continue. Aaron Jones lost carries to Jamal Williams, as crazy as that is. So I don't think his running backs are looking as strong as they did, and I think it really could have had help to have David Johnson in that lineup. And Delaney Walker is good. Delaney Walker is solid. He's the focal point of that Tennessee Titans offense, and I actually think he'll be better this year than Hooper. Maybe not by much, but I mean, he's the number one target in that. So I just don't understand the move. Maybe we're wrong again on this, but David Johnson is so good, and I can't understand getting rid of him for such small returns.
Yeah, I think more what kind of made Cosmo and I roll our eyes is just like, you just have to pause for a second. I guess we're throwing out another tip here. Get ready to take the tip, you know what I'm saying? But you don't always have to, just because someone initiates a trade with you, you don't have to go through it. Like you can say no, you can have a threshold. You're like, no, I'm not going above this. Like I'll give you Philip Lindsay and Delaney Walker, but I'm not touching David Johnson. And like not everything has to be done right this second. Like there will be, if you're not happy with your tight ends, there will be another tight end eventually there, or another trade target, something like that. There will be someone else on the waiver wire. You don't have to get this person right this second, and to where you think you need to just like sell to get this person right this second. So it's okay to take some time and breathe. But yeah, Akshay, like we said, it's probably, now that we've said all this, it's probably going to work out in Akshay's favor. But this is just things to think about for the future. And, you probably, as Taylor said, you probably could have gotten away with trading Philip Lindsay and Walker for Ridley and Hooper. So, but yeah, just keep things like that in mind going forward, and keep winning on. But anyway, moving on from that, trade.
Once again, I'd like to repeat that this is a fair trade. I have no ill will towards this trade. I think that my only real thing is that just wait till Saquon comes back, and Cosmo, when I play you, I'll have both Johnson and Barkley. Go against.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough to beat. I'm not even denying that.
Yeah, so that is going to be pretty tough. Saquon, Mark Ingram, and David Johnson. That'd be crazy. But all right, that is our transactions review of the week. I know it got a little dark there at the end. I know it got a little sad. Let's bring the mood back. Oh! Okay, we're bringing the mood back up here. That's right. We're moving right into the matchup preview.
Will you redeem yourself or be a complete failure again? It's time for the weekly matchup preview.
Ooh, thank you, sexy voice man, for leading us into that. Oh, that was so good. Okay, yeah, we're looking at week 4 here, moving right along as the season keeps going. Let's get into these, and once again, we're running out of time a little bit here, so we'll crank them out. And let's start with myself, Hit Squad, number 10 or 10th seed or 10th place, whatever. 0-3, going against Rahi 2-1 in 5th place. Projected 120 to 106 win for Rahi here. My projection as the week has gone on has just kept going down, so not looking too good. But yeah, so I got Aaron Rodgers playing Thursday night against Philadelphia, Robert Woods against Tampa Bay, Emmanuel Sanders against Jacksonville, Alvin Kamara against Dallas, Todd Gurley against Tampa Bay, Mark Andrews at Cleveland. Damian Williams currently is in my lineup, but I don't know if he's going to play or not. And then on Rahi's side, we got Carson Wentz, Kenny Golladay, Larry Fitzgerald, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Zach Ertz, and Cooper Kupp. And I'll just make this one easy for you guys. Last year, I will say, though, I'm projecting Rahi to win this one, but I will say last year, I was 0-3. And you know who I got my first win against in week 4? It was Rahi. That's right. I was 0-3 last year. Got my first win against Rahi on week 4. So will history repeat itself, Cosmo?
Unfortunately, I do not think so. I just think there's so many question marks right now with players not playing on your team that I think Rahi's gonna take it. But I will say next week I think could be where it starts to shine for you.
Taylor, what do you think on this matchup?
I'll never vote for Rahi. I believe in you.
Oh, thanks, man.
I do think, realistically thinking, I know you're fighting an uphill battle. Rahi's team is very solid, but I do think that kind of how everything's panning out with karma just in general, as somebody who knows the suffering of going on endless loss streak, I believe in. Don't worry, I think this is your week.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. I feel that.
I think we lost Cosmo.
Oh, did we?
No, he's back.
Oh, no, he's back. All right.
Hello.
Oh, no, Taylor, your thing's echoing bad now.
Oh, really? Oh, 1 second. Let me.
All right, Cosmo, we got you back.
Is it better?
Taylor? Okay, yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Taylor. Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We're back. The Sausage Bowl Podcast always back, you know what I'm saying? Okay, next up, we've got Cosmo 2-1 in 2nd place, going against Gabe Frogs Duncan in 6th place, 1-2. Projected 117 to 116 win for Cosmo, so very close here. Kyler Murray at Seattle, or versus Seattle. Devontae Adams, Philadelphia. Tyler Boyd, Pittsburgh. Dalvin Cook, Chicago. Ooh, tough matchup for Dalvin Cook there. We'll have to see how he does. Kerryon Johnson against Kansas City. Evan Ingram, Washington. Julian Edelman against Buffalo. On Duncan's side, we got Lamar Jackson at Cleveland, Julio Jones, Tennessee, Mike Williams. Why is he still in your lineup against Miami? That's why he's in your lineup. Marlon Mack against Oakland. LaShawn McCoy against Detroit. Travis Kelce against Detroit. And James White against Buffalo here. Taylor, who do you think takes the win between these two?
Doesn't matter. I mean, I'm kidding. No, I'm still going with my boy. Cosmo, I don't give you a lot of praise, and I remember you bet on me to get Saquon in the draft, so I'm going to return the favor. I think you're going to take the dub. I think you're gonna have some blow ups this week, and you're just going to lead the charge. So I'm wishing you luck, my man.
You know,
Appreciate that.
I just realized something. Cosmo, if an outsider comes and looks at your profile and sees your name and your picture, they're just gonna think you're one of the biggest racists out there.
It's not racist if you do it against yourself.
But they don't know you're Asian.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't care.
Anyway, I'm projecting. So Taylor, you went with Cosmo.
Because I'll never vote for Duncan. Fuck off.
I actually think, unfortunately for Duncan, I think he will fall 1-3 this week. I think Devontae Adams will have a bounce back game. Kyler Murray always, gets a decent amount of points. Tyler Boyd is solid. Dalvin Cook, I think, will regress a little bit just because of Chicago, obviously, but he's going to get a lot of volume, so he'll be okay. Kerryon Johnson will get points against Kansas City. Evan Ingram points, obviously. I think that Julio Jones is going to struggle just a little bit against Tennessee. I think he'll obviously still get 15 to 20 points. Mike Williams, even though it's against Miami, I think he might disappoint. I think a lot of points might go to the running back and Keenan Allen again this week. Oakland has a very underrated run defense, and so I think it might be hard for Marlon Mack. And then LaShawn McCoy, we don't know what is going on with his foot. And then James White, as good as he is, he can get you like barely any points one week and then a lot of points next week. So we'll have to see. But I think the ball bounces Cosmo's way a little bit more this week, and he takes the win here. Cosmo, you're not allowed to vote on yourself. That is,
Vote myself.
Okay, Cosmo votes himself. Next matchup here, we have Nahum in first place, 3-0, going against Brandon, 1-2 in seventh place. Projected to be a blowout, 126 to 97 in favor of Nahum here. Deshaun Watson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Keenan Allen, Zeke, Chris Carson, TJ Hawkinson, Amari Cooper, going against Tom Brady, Odell Beckham Jr., Nelson Aguilar, James Conner, Leonard Fournette, Will Disley, and Josh Jacobs here. And as Cosmo and I have always said, mostly Cosmo as the weeks have gone on, we're not going to bet against Nahum until proven otherwise. So I am taking Nahum here to go to 4-0, and unfortunately for Brandon, fall to 1-3. Taylor, who do you pick?
I'm gonna pick Nahum, even though Brandon doesn't have a defense for some reason. So I mean, I hope he puts him in. But yeah, no, I'm going for Nahum. Nahum just has a stronger team right now. I think Brandon's in a rebuilding phase. I do think that, I think he might want to run a little more risk in terms of who he's starting. I really don't like Jacobs at that flex spot, but you know what? I think he'll be all right. And but can't really go against Nahum. Cosmo.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I got to pick Nahum. He's just like an unstoppable truck right now. Although I disagree with you on Jacobs. I think Jacobs is actually going to bounce back strong. He's been playing with sickness the last 2 weeks, and I think he's about to feast. But otherwise, yeah, I agree. I think Nahum takes the cake here.
Well, we got to keep things moving along, guys, so we're going to go rapid fire here. Next matchup, we got fourth place, Akshay going against ninth place. Taylor here, 109 to 109 projections, splitting it down the middle here. I'm going to go with Taylor. Taylor, do you pick yourself?
Of course.
Okay, Cosmo, who do you pick for this matchup?
Yeah, I feel bad for ribbing Akshay too much. I still think his team's really, really good, and I think he still could put up some points here, but I do think Taylor is going to win this one.
All right, last matchup of the week here. We've got Aaron in 8th place going against Cameron in 3rd place, projected 124 to 104 in favor of Cameron here, and I am going to take Cameron. I think his team is just too strong, and he's got some favorable matchups this week. Taylor, who do you pick?
I take Dunce boy Cameron.
Hey, Cosmo, are you going to take the underdog here?
I hate to be an echo chamber, but I will take him. Some of these pick, please don't start Carlos Hyde, please, Aaron. But otherwise, yeah, I got to go with Cameron. He's been too strong.
All right, well, that is your matchup preview for week 4. We'll see how it goes, see where we were right, where we were wrong. And finally, let's get into the bold predictions.
Bold predictions.
Woo, that just makes the hair stand on you, huh? All right, well, Cosmo and Taylor, fill in your bold predictions for this week while I go over last week's. All right, so last week's, Cosmo said, fins up! Dolphins were going to beat the Cowboys. He said if any team was going to fail against the Dolphins, it was going to be the Cowboys, and it kind of looked like it through the first half. I mean, Cowboys are only up 10-6 going into the half, but I think they were just taking it for granted and weren't really trying too hard. They come out in the second half and just blew them out of the water. So that bold prediction was wrong, unfortunately, for Cosmo. But we actually finally do have a correct bold prediction on this show. I predicted Mike Evans was going to explode for 35 points, and I was correct. He went for 36 in the first half and ended with 41. He got that L, but he got 41 fantasy points, and it was quite an explosion. And I was kind of surprised that the prediction actually came true. But we've got one right so far, so that's pretty nice for us. Yeah, put it on the board. But all right, getting into this week's bold predictions, Cosmo, I will let you go first here.
So this goes completely against what I was saying earlier, but that's why it's a bold prediction. I'm predicting that Wayne the Pain Gallman is going to score 40 points this week, and it's going to make everyone forget about Saquon Barkley. Everyone's going to be Saquon who.
Oh yeah, Saquon who? Nah, it's Wayne Gallman's show. They're going to cut Saquon after this guy performs, you know what I'm saying? All right, Taylor, hit us with your bold prediction for week 4.
I'm going on the same pathway, a little bit more modest because I love my boy Saquon, but I'm thinking Wayne Gallman's hitting that 30-point stretch.
30 points, nice.
Bro, you just took my bold prediction and then made it a little bit more attainable.
It's not a wild ass prediction. I think he's going 30. God. I think he's going 30 points. I can't go 40 points because if he goes 40 points, you know they're never gonna question Saquon. But I don't even want them to have a shred of doubt. But I think it's gonna be 30 points. They're gonna shut up the haters.
Just took your bold prediction. All right, let's get serious here. It's time for Danny's bold prediction of the week. That's right. We've been talking about Will Disley. We've been talking about how he's been performing for Brandon's team here. This is the mountain man here, and I say he goes down to Arizona, and he goes Paul Bunyan on Arizona. That's right. He's going to take his axe and create a Grand Canyon right through the Arizona Cardinal defense down in Arizona. The mountain man, Paul Bunyan, is going to shred that defense for 25 plus. Boys, mark it down, Will Disley. Oh, that's what I say. This week, it comes true. Hallelujah.
I'm hyped now.
My voice is kind of wrecked there. All right, anyway, like I said, those are your bold predictions. We got Wayne Gallman goes for 40 from Cosmo. Wayne Gallman goes for 30 from Taylor. I think that's the first on the show that a bold prediction has been sniped. And then Will Disley goes Paul Bunyan on the Arizona Cardinals and gets 25 points. 25 plus points for the Seattle Seahawks. All right, well, that was our bold predictions. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And as always, stay fresh, whatever. I don't really have anything I normally say here. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. Okay, Cosmo, any last words?
Like a catchphrase to finish these shows.
Yeah, I know. I do need one.
Oh, well, we'll think of it next week.
Yeah, we'll think of it. All right, Taylor, any last words for our guests or for our listeners here?
No, I just want to thank you guys for having me on the podcast. It's always a pleasure. I still think all of you guys are pathetic, and I can't wait to see you when I have that trophy in my hands. Cosmo, suck my dick. Duncan, you're always going to be my rival. You're a pathetic fantasy player. I can't wait to beat you and pay back all the money I've lost to you. Nate, you're black. I don't like you. Danny, I can't wait to see you 12 at the end of the season, bitch. And then Brandon, actually, I got to see a brother succeed. I hate on one. I gotta see. I hope you come back strong. You're doing all right. Akshay, Rahi. Now I'm telling you that I think that actually, you know what? I'm gonna be nicer to Rahi. Rahi, I always rag on you, but really, you're less worse than Duncan. Better than Cosmo, but you're all gonna just pale down, and at the end of the season, my name will reign true, and you're gonna be bowing down to me and Saquon. So get your knees ready. I hope you have some lotion ready to go because I'm about to chafe that up whenever you're saying your prayers to your boy. I'm out, bitch.
All right, well, with that, we're going to close out the show, and oh boy, I'm about to play the outro sound drop, so please don't talk over it, my dudes. Okay, see you next week.
This is the Sausage Bowl Podcast signing out. As always, thanks for listening and see you next week.